Let's continue by talking about break and continue. In Java, the break and continue statements are used to control the flow of execution in loops and switch statements. The break statement is used to immediately exit a loop or switch statement and continue execution of the code that follows this loop or switch statement. Here's an example of a loop that we have seen. And there was a problem with this loop. I mean, not necessarily a problem, but if we wanted to only find the first occurrence, this loop would not do it. What we would have to do is we would have to break the loop here. We could do this by adding the break statement right here. So after it found the value that we are looking for, it would write the current index to the index of the value that was found, and then it would break the loop, meaning it would stop directly. So let's say I would have another 7 right there, since we were looking for the value of 7. If I'm going to run this again, it is still going to be 6. But without the break, it would have been the last one. So let me show you this. I'm going to comment out the break statement and run it again. And you will see that now it finds 9, the last occurrence of 7. So with the break, I can actually break out of the loop as soon as I found the value. The continue statement is somewhat similar to the break statement, but instead of exiting the loop completely, it causes the loop to skip the rest of the current iteration and just continue with the next iteration. So instead of jumping outside of the loop, it jumps back to the top of the loop. Let's have a look at an example. I'm going to comment this out for now. And I am going to be creating, again, a small list of numbers. And this time, I actually want to go ahead and loop over all these numbers. I'm going to use the for each loop for this. And in here, I will then say if the number is an even number, so I'm going to say %2 = 0. I don't want to do whatever I was planning to do, so I'm going to be continuing. If it's not an even number, I want to print it for now. So if I run this, it's going to not print it for the even values, because it's continuing back to the top of the if statement, meaning line 6. So in this case, it's only printing 1 and 3. Let me show you by enabling debugging mode what's happening here. So I'm putting a breakpoint on line 5, and I'm going to use the bug icon to start the program. And then it's going to pause, and we can actually see what happens as soon as it hits continue. So right now it's paused at line 5, and I'm just going to step to the next line. Here, this is where the loop starts. And the first time we're looping over the value is 0. Well, 0 modulus 2 is 0, so it's going to hit continue. And continue is going to bring us back to the top. Then for 1, it is again going to check, is the modulus 2 0? That's not the case. So it's going to skip the if statement, print 1, and then goes back to the top. Then for 2, it is again 2 modulus 2 is 0, so it's going to continue. It's going to jump back to the top, etc. So break and continue are useful tools for controlling the flow of execution in loops and switch statements, and you can use them to exit the loop in the case of break, or you can skip the current iteration and go back to the top of the loop. But there is a point that I'd like to make still, and that's that you should use break and continue as little as possible. Let me show you what I mean. For example, in this situation, I'm using continue, but it would have been way prettier if I would have written it like this. Don't have the continue statement, only print it whenever the value does not equal 0 for number modulus 2. Same result, cleaner code. I do kind of think the break in the other example is okay, but there's another example that we have seen that I'd like to show you again that we could also have written with a break statement. And that's this one, the one we used for a while. So it's actually not too uncommon for people to do this loop very differently. So sometimes you'll see a loop like this being written like this, while true, and then just break out of this infinite loop whenever you found a value of 10. And of course this works and it does the exact same thing, and now you don't need to define a variable not found, but you would have to look at this code a little bit longer to figure out what it is doing. And therefore, I would say the original version looks a lot prettier, is better readable and better maintainable. So be careful when you use break and continue, and always think, can I use something else instead?